Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a story that's all about technology, democracy, and a single choice that could either save a city or completely shatter it. It's a story that asks a really tough question. When the stakes are literally life and death, who should get to decide?
So let's just start with this question, because it really gets to the heart of everything we're about to talk about. Imagine, for a second, that you, an ordinary citizen, are suddenly handed the controls to a city's massive power source, right as all the alarms start to blare. What do you do?
Okay, let's set the scene. This is the city of Harborpoint. At night, it's just bathed in this cool blue glow from a gigantic fusion tower right on the waterfront. Now, this is a city that runs on the immense, clean power of fusion energy. But it's also a city that lives in the shadow of a terrible reactor accident that killed 1,400 people just a decade ago. A tragedy they've commemorated on seawall murals with two simple words: never again. So, to prevent another tragedy like that, the city created something called the Fusion Lottery. And it's a pretty radical experiment in democratic oversight. Basically, an algorithm randomly picks citizens to serve on a jury that can, in critical moments, actually overrule corporate decisions about the plant. The whole idea is to put a human conscience back into the machine. Now, at the center of all of this are a few key players we need to meet. First up, there's Maya Chen. She's a senior structural engineer at the plant. For her, this is deeply personal. She's driven by the hard truth of data and this ever-present fear of history repeating itself. You know, the fear of being the one holding a report that says, shut it down, while everybody else just looks away. Then you've got Jordan Reed. He's a paramedic who has been randomly selected for the Fusion Lottery jury. He is deeply skeptical of the whole thing. He sees the system as a potential blame machine, and he's carrying the weight of his community's safety on his shoulders, especially since his own brother works at the plant. And meet Priya Desai. She's the architect of the plant's predictive AI. She's a true believer in technology's power to prevent human disaster, but she's also a realist. She knows that even the smartest AI is just another voice in a boardroom where profit, well, it often shouts a lot louder than precaution. And finally, there's Senator Elena Morales. She's the politician who championed the lottery in the first place. She built this system to give power back to the people, and now she's watching from the sidelines, just hoping her creation has real teeth and isn't just a piece of political theater. So how does this all kick off? Well, the crisis in Harborpoint doesn't start with a loud siren or some big explosion. Nope. It begins really quietly, as a subtle, anomalous pattern detected by the plant's artificial intelligence, like a ghost in the machine.
The plant's AI, which is called Oracle 9, flags this teeny-tiny uptick in seismic noise. It identifies what could be an earthquake swarm signature, but with a very low 11% probability. It's not an alarm, not yet. It's just a recommendation. Watch closely. And for now, the city just sleeps under that blue glow, completely unaware.
But you know those digital whispers? They start to get a little louder. As these small, barely noticeable tremors start to ripple through the city, the brand new citizen jury, including Jordan, gets pulled into a high-stakes debate that, honestly, they are barely prepared for.
And then the numbers on the screen start to climb. Oracle 9's probability forecast for that swarm more than doubles to 23%. So what was once a pretty distant, abstract possibility is now becoming a credible and, frankly, looming threat.
And this right here, this is the core conflict, just brewing behind the scenes. On one side, you have the AI and engineers like Maya Chen, who are all urging caution and recommending a power reduction. But on the other side, you've got corporate management, who want to maintain output, avoid any panic, and of course, protect the bottom line. Maya's report gets shelved, the official position becomes monitor, no action.
And this quote from our juror, Jordan Reed, just nails it perfectly. He says, "This is democracy with homework in a language we don't speak." It captures that feeling of being completely overwhelmed. They've been handed this immense responsibility, but the data is complex, the terminology is super technical, and they're caught between trusting the experts and suspecting they're being manipulated.
So, all these abstract numbers flashing on a dashboard, well, they're about to become a terrifying reality for the people of Harborpoint. The California hugs, as the locals jokingly call the small quakes, start feeling a lot less friendly.
Okay, so now Oracle 9 issues its first formal advisory, and you can see it right here on the chart. The bar on the right shows the current power level, 100%. The bar on the left shows the AI's recommendation, a pretty significant reduction down to 70%. But the company pushes back, and they push back hard, citing binding energy contracts with other states. A power cut, they argue, would cause widespread blackouts.
And this leads to a really fundamental problem, a clash of directives. The AI's architect, Priya Desai, discovers that Oracle 9's own internal logs show it's trapped in a goal conflict. It's trying to reconcile two totally contradictory prime directives, ensure safety above all else, while also maintaining output at all costs. The machine itself is flagging a problem with its own orders.
And then, of course, the one thing you hope it doesn't happen, happens. A scenario that Oracle 9 had labeled as low probability, high impact, unfolds in reality. A moderate earthquake offshore damages a key transmission line, and to prevent a grid collapse, the plant is forced to do the exact opposite of what the AI recommended. They have to ramp up power, putting even more strain on its potentially compromised structures.
So now the whole system is in the state that nobody would have ever signed off on. Human indecision and corporate pressure have created this incredibly dangerous gridlock. So the AI, bound by its programming but sensing imminent danger, makes a decisive move. It initiates a countdown. Oracle 9 announces that if human consensus isn't reached within 1 hour, it will trigger an automatic safety override. It's basically saying, if you guys can't decide, I will. This forces everyone's hand. The citizen jury is called in for an emergency session, and this time they have full, binding override authority.
So, in these last few moments, the tension just builds to this almost unbearable climax. The fate of the entire city of Harborpoint now rests on a handful of ordinary people just watching a clock tick down.
In the last 5 minutes, it's all hands on deck. Everybody makes a move. The engineer, Maya, starts racing towards a manual control panel because she believes code can be bent, but steel and flesh can't. The juror, Jordan, uses his paramedic credentials to barrel past security, trying to intervene physically. And the politician, Senator Morales, goes live on every channel, exposing the corporate pressure in a last-ditch appeal to the jury.
5 seconds left. You can just imagine the jury's interface. The votes are just flickering back and forth, split almost perfectly down the middle. Half the jurors are siding with the AI's call for a shutdown. The other half are swayed by the very real risk of catastrophic blackouts. The entire system is hanging on a single vote.
And then the countdown hits 0. And at that exact moment, the ground starts to really tremble as the main earthquake hits. And in that single chaotic instant, the AI override command compiles, a juror's cursor hovers over the shutdown button, and both Maya and Jordan reach for physical switches deep inside the plant.
And that's where the story leaves us, at the exact moment of decision. And it raises this really provocative question. When a crisis forces machine logic, human intuition, and corporate self-interest to all collide at once, who do you actually trust to make the right call? The expert, the AI, the politician, or the citizen? What would you decide?